Want to know a little known secret to massively improving Premiere performance for only about $40? Well then stick around. So before we get into this, I need to make a quick disclaimer so everyone doesn't accuse me of clickbait, even though you're probably gonna accuse me of clickbait anyways. This won't improve your render performance. This will primarily benefit your import times. So if you're still interested, let's dive in. See, importing in Premiere can be very slow. The reason is that Premiere generates a bunch of data when you import footage in order to make editing easier. This includes things like audio waveforms and video thumbnails. That data is stored in Premiere's media cache, so it doesn't have to be recreated every time you reopen that project. The problem comes in the form of storing that data. The default location for the media cache is on your boot drive, which has a lot of data being written and read off of it all the time because, well, that's where your operating system is stored. To improve our performance, we're going to move our media cache off of the C drive and onto a dedicated drive. In this case, that drive is going to be a 64GB M.2 SSD. I'll link the specific drive I'm using down below in the description. The first thing we need to do is move our media cache. I'll show you how to do that for both After Effects and Premiere, since your Premiere project may be utilizing assets from After Effects if you're using Dynamic Link. You're going to want to go into Edit, Preferences, then Media Cache. Here you'll have two options, Media Cache Files and Media Cache Database. Simply select Browse to move both of those locations to your dedicated cache drive. When you move your database, it will ask you whether you want to move the current database or delete it. In my case, I deleted it since I was clearing out my cache anyways. That just means any old projects you open will have to regenerate the cache files. In After Effects, it's the same thing. Edit, Preferences, then Media and Disk Cache. Here you'll want to move both your disk cache and your conformed media cache. When you move your AE disk cache, make sure to put it in a different folder than your Premiere cache. Otherwise, you might get problems when using Dynamic Link between Premiere and After Effects, or when using motion graphics templates. Okay, so now that we know how and why to move our media cache, what performance benefits will you actually get by doing it? Well, to find out, I did 2 tests on 4 different drives. The drive we're testing are on my OS drive, which is an SSD, a secondary internal HDD, an external HDD, and of course the dedicated M.2 SSD. Our first test is an export test. The project here is a mixture of 4K and 1080p H.264 files, as well as some motion graphics from After Effects, all being exported at 1080p for YouTube. As you can see by the graph, the export times weren't really affected by the speed of our cache. The M.2 cache was the slowest of the export times, but it was only about a 5% difference from the other results, which puts it in the margin of error. Now to our import test. This was done by importing about 5 GB of files. The files were a mixture of 1080p and 4K H.264 files, as well as audio files. Here you can see that having a dedicated SSD makes a huge difference. Having the cache on our boot drive or an HDD didn't really make a difference, but once we put the cache on a dedicated SSD, we got an over 30% improvement in import times. What this means, of course, is that if you have a ton of files that you want to throw into Premiere to start editing with as quickly as possible, having a dedicated cache SSD will make a huge difference. So that's it for this video. I'd like to thank Puget Systems for inspiring the idea for this video. They publish a ton of information on the performance of different hardware in professional applications, including Premiere, and one of those articles on storage optimization helped inspire this video. I'll link that article down below, but their other articles are definitely worth checking out as well. But anyway, that is it for this video. So if you like this video, if it's helpful, if you maybe have already done this and it really helped improve your import times, hit that like button. If not, feel free to hit the dislike button. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave those in the comment section down below. And if you want to see more videos like this, please hit that subscribe button.